Coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome to Africa Focus, where we bring you news from across the continent right here on Switch TV Kenya. My name is Joel Chacha and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Talk to us via social media platforms at Switch TV Kenya, Joel Chacha M on Twitter, as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya and Joel Chacha. Send in an SMS via 111 444 111. But first, here stories making headlines. A court in Mali's capital Bamako ends a much-delayed trial of former coup leader Amadou Sanogo. Ethiopia rejects outside mediation on River Nile. In Senegal, Friday prayers dedicated to victims of political unrest. Algerian students reject the announcement of early elections during a demonstration held in the capital, Algiers. In a quick rejoinder, President Abdelnajib Tebboune issued a decree setting June 12th for early legislative elections after dissolving parliament last month.
Our fight is clear. It is against the current power. They have dismissed the people, so we are dismissing them in our turn. These elections do not concern me. I will not vote under these conditions. I will not vote as long as this power is in place. I will vote when my voice and there is a rule of law, because for the moment it is not the case. Soundbite 2. We have been demonstrating for 2 years and we will continue to do so to show that we are committed to the demands which are free press, independent justice and obtaining the independence that our matter has dreamt of. The most important thing is that we have the civil and non-military power as well as the application of the Article 7 and 8 of the Constitution. The elections is not legitimate. They want a new parliament to calm the anger in the streets. We are against the legislative elections, against the Bougie, the leader of the Senate. We ask for all the symbols of the system to leave without any exceptions. We hold on to this demand. We will not support this until it is met.
Elsewhere, Ousmane Sonko, who is Senegalese President Macky Sall's main opponent, has warned that a third term for Sall is out of the question. Take a look.
We asked all religious authorities to accompany, because dialogue is a dialogue of the deaf when it is a dialogue between political actors only, and to be guarantors of what should be done, notably the question of the third mandate. We don't want to hear about it anymore. It is no longer acceptable for anyone in Senegal to stand before the people and think for a fraction of a second. A third term is out of the question, and the day someone wants to do so, they will be dislodged from the palace. The entire Senegalese people rose up as one man. Never in the memory of the Senegalese people have we seen this, but the whole political class, the citizen, the civil society rose up as one man to say that enough is enough. But we must understand that this movement is not only linked to the Ousmane Sonko's case. It is the condemnation of the frustrations, refusal and rejection of Macky Sall's methods. This is the first time in Senegal's political history that we have a president who has sworn that he will go for elections without opposition. What we are experiencing today is the point of a new beginning of the construction of this country. It is a new beginning so that the democracy and the consolidation can continue to improve.
To the corridors of justice, a court in Mali's capital Bamako ended a much-delayed trial of former coup leader Amadou Sanogo, who has been accused of killing 21 allied soldiers in a 2022 putsch. The court, which has not issued a verdict, has also ended the proceedings against 15 other defendants, citing a 2019 reconciliation law offering amnesty or pardon for specific crimes committed during the 2012 crisis.
Mali does not need a trial that will lead to assassinations and atrocities. The country has passed a law of national amnesty, which has just been applied. Laws are made to be applied. I say again, thank you, and thank you to everyone, especially to the judges.
To release Sanogo, who massacred people, who kidnapped women, who raped them. It's a shame today for Mali, to the point that this debt must be inscribed in the history of Mali. I will take the matter to international justice. There the law will be said.
In reality, I'm shocked. I did not expect this because normally Fuyensi Diarra said during his hearing, he said clearly in front of everyone that he has fired rafales on children and that he did not even regret it. For 6 to 7 years, we have been fighting.
An Ethiopian official has said that his government opposes calls by Sudan for outside mediators, including the United States, in the ongoing dispute over its construction of a massive hydroelectric dam on the Nile River. Take a look.
Dina Mufti, spokesman for Ethiopia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has said that Ethiopia is generally opposed to the mediation by outside parties, even though the African Union is welcome to help. The country insists that the tripartite talks between Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam should be concluded between the three countries and not through mediators. Mufti added that Ethiopia has big respect for the African Union and the country believes in resolving African problems by Africans. The Sudan Tribune reported that Sudan had formally requested mediation by the European Union, the US, and the African Union to resolve the dispute after the visit of Sudan's Prime Minister to Cairo last week. Despite negotiations that have lasted years, Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia have failed to reach a deal over how to share the Nile water, a lifeline for all the three countries. The talks, with a variety of mediators, including the Trump administration, have failed to produce a resolution. Ethiopia began filling the dam's reservoir last July as heavy rains flooded the river. The $4.6 billion dam will be Africa's largest. It is expected to reach full power generating capacity in 2023, according to the government. Ethiopia insists the dam is a crucial development that will help pull millions of its nearly 110 million citizens out of poverty and become a major power exporter. Downstream Egypt, which depends on the Nile to supply fresh water to its farmers and population of 100 million, asserts that the dam possesses an existential threat. It has said that Ethiopia is filling the dam too quickly. Sudan has also voiced concerns over its access to the Nile's water. Negotiators have said key questions remain about how much water Ethiopia will release downstream if a multi-year drought occurs, and how the countries will resolve any future disputes. Namkana Samuel, Switch TV.
Meanwhile, Libya's new Prime Minister Abdul Hamid swears in to lead the war-torn country's transition to election in December after years of chaos and division. The North African nation descended into conflict after dictator Muammar Gaddafi was toppled and killed in a NATO-backed uprising in 2011, resulting in multiple forces vying for power. Hamid selected at UN-sponsored talks in February alongside an interim three-member presidency council took the oath of office in front of lawmakers in the eastern city of Tobruk. Hamid's swearing in comes after Parliament last week approved his cabinet in a move hailed by key leaders and foreign powers as historic. Well, time to take a breather. Stay with us here on Africa Focus. Still to come. Commuter trains in Kenya carry passengers to full capacity and sometimes even exceeding the normal total carriage amid COVID-19. Welcome back to Africa Focus. My name is Joel Chacha and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Moving on, commuter trains have been carrying passengers to full capacity and sometimes even exceeding the normal total carriage amid COVID-19 pandemic in Kenya, a move which has seen a section of matatu operators lamenting as they have still not been allowed to resume their normal operations. Following their constant complaints, Switch TV decided to unearth the gospel of their constant protest and even boarded train commuting along Ruiru Nairobi line. As Majibu Kisao now reports, the situation in these trains is upsetting. Take a look.
This is the train operating from Githurai here in Nairobi to Railways Central Station. In a news story featured previously by Switch TV, a section of matatu operators lamented on the government being one-sided in matters transport.
Tuchukuliwi kama watu wale wengine, na tungeomba sana tafadhali serikali kama inasikia kilio ya mwananchi ituone tubebe watu kama kawaida.
The operators decried the government's move to allow the commuter train to carry passengers to full capacity and at times even exceeding the normal total carriage.
Sisi watu wa matatu tunaona tumefinyiliwa kabisa kwa sababu hata ukienda kule kwa train zinajaza kabisa. Hata ukikuja hapa mwendo wa saa 2 utakuta watu wanakaa ni wengi kabisa. Lakini tukienda kwa matatu hata tunajiuliza, je, kwani kwa matatu ndio kuna hii ugonjwa?
Ukiangalia upande wa Railways, hii gari ya moshi, watu ni wanashuka wakiwa wamecha sana wengi kiasi ya kwamba hakuna nafasi. Lakini matatu tunabeba watu 8, kama hii gari ndogo ya watu 14 tunabeba watu 8. Gari hizi zingine pia zinabeba capacity ile imeruhusiwa na serikali.
Following their complaints, Switch TV decided to delve into finding out what really transpires in the commuter rail. From Githurai, I boarded a train to town. At first, it's calm inside, but each time the train stops to pick up more passengers, the situation becomes dire. This is the train operating along Ruiru-Nairobi line through Kahawa, Githurai, Mwiki, Maili Saba, Dandora and Makadara. Overpopulation, crowdness, staffing is the cause of business-like protests from not only a section of passengers but also the matatu operators who feel to have been messed around by the government following orders of social distancing in public means of transport. This gentleman here could not withstand the staffing in this cabin. Despite having stood from Githurai amid congestion, the thought of leaning against the cabin walls made the situation even worse. He opted to stand next to the window to try and get some fresh air. Despite the situation being pathetic, one could hear the attendants inside urging those on board to create more space for more to come in. Even as the country continues to battle COVID-19, this is the situation in our commuter trains. At the station in Nairobi, where majority are light, many scramble to get cleared, and the officials seem not to care much about the issue of social distancing. Many continue to raise innumerable questions as to why the government is acting blind on trains operating normally at a time when the country is still battling COVID-19. Who is to blame? Should the matatus too be allowed to carry to full capacity or resume their normal operations? Majibu Kisao for Switch TV.
Now, devastation has rocked Tunisia after blast left 6 people dead and 1 injured when an assault tank exploded in an industrial zone in Gabes in southeastern Tunisia. 4 people died on the spot and the 2 others died after being transported to hospital in Gabes. The causes of the explosion are not yet known. However, it occurred at 9:30 a.m. Search operations to find other possible victims were immediately carried out.
We arrived quickly on the scene, but unfortunately we counted dead and wounded.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's military chiefs visit wounded soldiers in hospital in Maiduguri after Islamic State-aligned jihadists ambushed a Nigerian military convoy, killing 15 soldiers and 4 militia fighters in the northeast state of Borno. Nigerian security forces have stepped up efforts to rescue dozens of abducted college students, and President Muhammadu Buhari, meanwhile, has vowed an early end to the hostage crisis.
We are commending you to say that all issues of violence and insecurity, especially within Operation Lafia Dole area, must come to an end. And I know the resolve that your commander has, and that the commitment that you've shown, that will enable us to achieve it. Do you promise me that?
It's a routine visit, operational visit, meant to ginger our troops, meant to motivate them to also get to know what their challenges are, and then to solve problems right in the field. So it's we're quite pleased with the report that the commander has given to us, and we will keep encouraging them, because that's precisely what we should do. You know, counter-terrorism is a work in progress. It's not an end state itself. I mean, the end state is peace, but it's not a product. So we will keep working at it, and in due course, every space, every inch of land, including the Tumbus, will be controlled by.
At Friday prayers in Senegal, many worshippers pray for those who have died in recent political protests. The opposition has declared a national day of mourning after violence left at least 5 people dead, 11 according to the protest group, in the most serious unrest in Senegal since 2012.
Like every Friday, I pray for the dead, our godfathers and grandmothers. Today especially, I prayed for the people who lost their lives in the demonstrations last Friday. So we are praying today because it is national mourning. We pray that the good Lord will welcome them into heaven.
We were fighting for democracy. It is unfair what is happening to us. We pray that the people killed during the demonstrations will rest in peace. That is the most important thing. We prayed for them.
Let's now focus on the story of Job Wako, who is marking 6 years living with chronic kidney disease. He shares his story with our reporter Harry Chime and says even though celebrating surviving kidney transplant, the life after is an uphill task. At the same time, a nephrologist advises the prevention of renal failure, especially among people with diabetes and high blood pressure. The two leading causes of diabetes, or rather chronic kidney disease. Here's more.
Hospital to hospital, misdiagnosed twice, and under the wrong medications that deteriorated his health, he was then diagnosed with chronic kidney disease in 2015.
One day I just got home from work and started feeling very fatigued. I was extremely exhausted. I lost my appetite and I couldn't even sleep. Some nights you end up not being able to sleep because the way the kidney is set up, at night is when it helps you sleep, I think. So I couldn't sleep, and one day I woke up and I had a very puffy face. Other than the puffy face, my skin got very dark. So when you have chronic kidney disease, your skin ends up getting very, very dark because the toxins are not being removed. And then I had this thing called uremic frost, where you look like umeparara, like your skin looks very, very dry. So I didn't know at the time, but that uremic frost is an indicator of chronic kidney disease.
Job says the dialysis treatment was one of the biggest challenges.
Of course, I'm terrified because I wasn't put to sleep. It was something that is done when you are awake under local anesthesia. So they numb the area, it's around your neck, and you're awake. And now you have all these doctors working on your neck to get this tube so that you can get blood to do dialysis. So that took maybe a couple of hours of just lying there and having the doctors work on me. And I remember at that point just wondering how I'll do this. Because now if I have to do dialysis 3 times a week, Yeah, so once you get a kidney transplant, you can't eat some foods. So on dialysis, the diet is very restrictive. You can't eat potassium, very high potassium food. So if you're eating potatoes or even traditional veggies like managu and all those, you have to soak them to remove the potassium because now your body cannot handle it on dialysis. But when you get a kidney transplant, you can eat those things, but then you now have to avoid fruits like grapefruit. And there's a list of other fruits because the medication we are on gets this interference when you eat these fruits.
Later in 2016 November, his sister donated him a kidney in a transplant that took place in India. Taking extra precautions due to low immunity has also been a tough journey. Those living with chronic kidney disease are advised to go for dialysis thrice a week for better quality of life, although most Kenyans are not able to afford a session that roughly costs 10,000 Kenya shillings, and getting a donor is also a challenge.
Kenya, we have been doing transplants and our numbers are increasing. Unfortunately, so far we've only been doing what are called living donor or kidney transplants. We don't have the deceased donor organ program yet, although the Kenya Renal Association, together with the Ministry of Health, has been working on an act, the Kenya Organ Tissue Transplant Act, to pave way for the deceased donor organ program, and it sets down the guidelines and the legal frameworks for the deceased donor organ program.
Dr. Hussein says COVID-19 had an impact on the course of delivering dialysis.
Initially it was quite challenging because we had to put in safety precautions. All the dialysis units were given guidelines from the Kenya Renal Association, which is headed by Dr. Ahmed Twahir. We set out the guidelines as to how patients can be dialyzed, how to dialyze somebody who has who has been infected with COVID-19 as well. Because remember that patients are side by side in the dialysis units, so the risk of contracting the infection from one patient can significantly increase. Patients who are transplanted as well are on heavy immunosuppression. Immunosuppression means that we have to suppress the body's immunity, which can fight the foreign kidney or the transplanted kidney. So these patients become more vulnerable to contracting the COVID-19 disease. One, and two is that the disease can become more severe in such patients because of the immunosuppression.
Now, unfortunately, one can be asymptomatic and symptoms come up when the disease has progressed. Thus, Dr. Hussein encourages citizens to go for regular blood and urine tests, maintain a healthy diet, reduce salt intake, exercise, hydrate, and manage underlying conditions. Being diagnosed with a kidney disease is a challenge for both the patient and those living around them. Thus, this year's theme is living well with the disease. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
Thank you, Harriet Chimea, for that story. Moving on, a group of women under the banner of Dada Rides embarked on a cycling journey from Nairobi to Mombasa in a bid to promote the cycling sport among the women folk. Jennifer Kanini Salome, who is a remarkable veteran cyclist and founder of Dada Rides, says the all-female event is meant to help women get more involved and motivated about the sport of cycling.
We have made our first tour of women cycling, the longest one in Kenya. Possible, so we are looking forward to have the next tour come next year and many tours to come. So it's my humble request to the young generation like Megan here, so because some of us we are now going to be the veterans, so that they can show the good examples to the rest. So you're not just here, but you are here to learn and show the rest of the young generation.
Well, that's all here on Africa Focus today, but keep the conversation going on our social media platforms at Switch TV Kenya, Joel Chacha M on Twitter, as well on Facebook, Switch TV Kenya and Joel Chacha. And my name is Joel Chacha and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Our director has been Julie and producer Harry Chimea. Until next time, do have a safe and great weekend.